Dr. Hannah Kim wiped sweat from her forehead as she carefully placed another crystal sample into her collection kit. The twin suns of Xerion 7 beat down mercilessly on the barren landscape, but the strange formations around her made every moment of discomfort worth it. These crystals shouldn't exist according to everything she knew about physics, yet here they were, humming with an energy that made her scanner readings go wild. She had been alone on this rock for 3 days now, and the isolation was starting to get to her. The research vessel, Pioneer's Dream, sat parked 2 kilometers away, its hull gleaming in the harsh sunlight. Captain Lee had wanted to stay, but Hannah insisted on working alone. Too many people around these formations might contaminate her readings. The crystals rose from the ground like frozen lightning bolts, some as tall as buildings, others barely reaching her knees. They pulsed with an inner light that shifted through. Colors she didn't have names for. When she touched them, they felt warm, almost alive. Her preliminary scans suggested they were generating energy from somewhere else entirely, maybe another dimension. Hannah adjusted her environmental suit and crouched beside a particularly large formation. This one was different from the others. Where most crystals showed smooth surfaces, this one had intricate patterns carved into its face. Not natural formations either. These looked deliberately made, like some kind of writing or map. She pulled out her imaging device and began taking detailed photographs. The patterns seemed to shift when she wasn't looking directly at them, creating an optical illusion that made her eyes water. Through her visor display, she watched the translation software struggle to make sense of the markings. A soft chittering sound made her freeze mid-motion. Hannah slowly turned her head, scanning the crystal spires around her. The sound came again, closer this time, like insects communicating. But her environmental readings showed no indigenous life forms on this planet. She had checked 3 times. Movement caught her eye between 2 massive crystals about 50 meters. Away! Something dark and angular shifted in the shadows, too large to be any insect she knew. Her heart began beating faster as she reached for the emergency beacon on her belt. 6-foot-tall creatures emerged from behind the crystal spires with fluid, predatory grace. Their bodies were covered in segmented black carapaces that gleamed like polished metal. Forearms ending in razor-sharp claws, compound eyes that reflected the crystal light like mirrors, and mandibles that clicked together in what sounded disturbingly like laughter. The lead creature was massive, easily 7 feet tall, with scars crisscrossing its carapace like battle wounds. Old burns and deep gouges told the story of countless fights. This wasn't some peaceful explorer. This was a warrior. Hannah's translation software kicked in as the creature spoke, its voice a harsh buzzing that made her skin crawl. "Look what we have here," it said, gesturing dismissively at her with one clawed hand. Another soft-skinned scavenger picking through our territory. More creatures emerged from hiding spots she hadn't even noticed. They had been watching her, studying her movements, probably for hours. Professional hunters who knew how to remain invisible until they chose to strike. "Please," Hannah said, raising her hands slowly. "I'm just a scientist. I'm not here to cause trouble." The scarred leader tilted its head, compound eyes focusing on her with disturbing intensity. "Scientist?" It clicked its mandibles in what might have been amusement. "You all say that, right before you try to steal what belongs to us." "I didn't know this was claimed territory," Hannah replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I can leave right now. No problems." The creature moved closer, and she could see her reflection multiplied hundreds of times in its compound eyes. "Too late for leaving, soft skin. You've seen our harvest site. You've contaminated our crystals with your inferior technology." Hannah noticed the other creatures had spread out, surrounding her position. They moved with military precision, cutting off every escape route. These weren't random aliens. They were organized, experienced, and clearly hostile. "The Krithari do not leave witnesses," the leader continued. "Your species is weak, fragile, easy prey for superior beings." Before Hannah could react or reach for her emergency beacon, something sharp pierced her neck just below her helmet seal. The creature had moved faster than her eyes could follow, its barbed stinger finding the one vulnerable spot in her environmental suit. Fire exploded through her bloodstream. The Krathari toxin felt like molten metal racing through her veins, burning every nerve ending it touched. Her vision blurred as her legs gave out, sending her crashing to the rocky ground beside the crystal formation. The aliens chittered with satisfaction as they watched her convulse. The leader loomed over her, its scarred face the last thing she saw clearly. "Toxin never fails," it hissed with obvious pride. "Soft skins always die the same way. Quick and quiet." As darkness closed in around her, Hana heard the creatures beginning to organize themselves, their harsh voices discussing camp setup and mining schedules. They were already dismissing her as another successful kill, another obstacle removed from their path. Her body went limp against the warm crystal as consciousness faded away. The Krathari wasted no time treating Hana like yesterday's garbage. They dragged her limp body away from the crystal formation and dumped her beside a pile of mining debris, not even bothering to check if she was actually dead. To them, she was just another failed scavenger who had learned the hard way not to mess with superior beings. Within an hour, their entire operation was up and running. Massive drilling rigs materialized from their cloaked transport ships, along with plasma cutters that could slice through solid rock like butter. The sound of industrial machinery filled the air as they began systematically harvesting the energy crystals that had taken Hana 3 days to carefully study. The scarred leader, who the others called Commander Vex, supervised the operation from a mobile command platform. His compound eyes constantly scanned the horizon for threats while his subordinates worked. These crystals were worth a fortune on the galactic black market, enough to fund their clan's expansion into 3 new star systems. "Work faster," Vex buzzed into his communicator. "We need to extract everything before the humans' people come looking for her." The Krathari had done this dance dozens of times before. Find a rich resource deposit, eliminate any witnesses, strip the location clean, and disappear before anyone noticed. Their cloaking technology made them nearly invisible to most scanning systems, and their hit-and-run tactics had earned them a fearsome reputation across the Outer Rim territories. What they didn't know was that Hana Kim wasn't like most humans they had encountered. Years ago, during her service with the Terran Special Operations Command, Hana had volunteered for an experimental enhancement program. The military had been trying to create soldiers who could survive in hostile alien environments, fight longer, heal faster, and adapt to unknown threats. The program was classified dangerous and ultimately discontinued after several test subjects died. Hana had been one of only 12 soldiers to survive the genetic modifications. Her cellular structure had been rewritten at the molecular level, her metabolism enhanced to process toxins and poisons that would kill normal humans. Her nervous system had been upgraded with synthetic neural pathways that could operate independently if her brain was compromised. Most importantly, her body had been designed to enter a protective hibernation state when faced with potentially lethal threats. What looked like death to outside observers was actually her enhanced physiology, buying time to analyze and counter whatever was trying to kill her. As the Krathari mining operation continued through the night, Hana's body worked. Miracles they couldn't imagine. Her modified liver began breaking down the alien venom, identifying its molecular structure, and producing specialized enzymes to neutralize it. Her enhanced immune system treated the toxin like a complex puzzle to be solved rather than a poison to be fought. The really interesting part was how her nervous system responded. Instead of shutting down like it should have, her synthetic neural pathways kicked in, analyzing the venom's effects and actually incorporating some of its properties. The Krathari toxin was designed to paralyze nerve function, but Hana's modified. Neurons began using it as a performance enhancer. By hour 6, her body temperature had dropped to near hibernation levels, slowing her heart rate to barely detectable levels, while her enhanced metabolism worked at maximum efficiency. To any outside observer, including sophisticated medical scanners, she appeared completely dead. The Krathari grew more confident as the night wore on. They had stationed 4 guards initially, but as their mining operation expanded, they pulled 2 guards back to help with the heavy lifting. Commander Vex was more concerned about equipment malfunctions than any threat from the dead human lying in the dirt. "Pathetic creatures," he muttered, glancing at Hana's still form. "Their military is supposed to be dangerous, but they die just as easily as civilians." The extraction work continued through the second day. Massive crystals were loaded onto anti-gravity platforms and transported to their cargo ships. The Krathari had developed sophisticated mining techniques over centuries of raiding, able to strip a location clean while leaving minimal evidence of their presence. As the twin suns of Zerion 7 began their second sunset since Hana's apparent death, something remarkable was happening inside her supposedly lifeless body. Her enhanced healing factors had finished repairing the injection site, leaving no trace that she had ever been poisoned. Her neural pathways had finished their recalibration, integrating the alien toxin's effects into her already impressive reflexes. Most significantly, her consciousness was beginning to resurface. Not the groggy, disoriented awakening of someone recovering from poison, but the sharp, crystal-clear awareness of a predator emerging from perfect camouflage. The Krathari had made a critical error in their assessment. They had encountered humans before, but never an enhanced human, never someone whose body had been specifically designed to survive encounters with unknown alien threats. Never someone who had been trained to turn apparent defeat into devastating counterattack. As the 18th hour passed, Hana's enhanced metabolism completed its work. The alien venom that should have killed her had instead given her the deepest, most restorative sleep of her entire life. Her body felt stronger than it had in years, her mind sharper than ever before. Her eyes opened slowly, pupils adjusting instantly to the low light conditions. She remained perfectly still, every enhanced sense gathering information about her surroundings. The Krathari were still there, still mining, still completely unaware that their easy prey had just become their worst nightmare. Hana's enhanced vision kicked in the moment her eyes opened, automatically adjusting to gather maximum information without moving a single muscle. Years of special operations training had taught her that the first few seconds of awakening in hostile territory were often the difference between life and death. She let her augmented senses paint a complete picture of the situation before making any decisions. The Krathari mining operation had expanded significantly during her 18-hour recovery. What started as a simple extraction site now looked like a full industrial complex. Massive drilling platforms towered over the crystal formations, their plasma cutters sending showers of sparks into the alien twilight. The sound of heavy machinery mixed with the chittering conversations of busy workers. Through her peripheral vision, she counted exactly 34 Krathari moving between various stations. Her enhanced hearing picked up their radio chatter, automatically processed by her suit's translation software. They were discussing extraction quotas, equipment maintenance, and transport schedules. Not one of them mentioned the dead human lying 50 meters away. Her xenobiological training kicked into high gear as she studied their movement patterns. The Krathari were efficient workers, but they followed predictable routines: guard rotations every 2 hours, equipment checks at regular intervals. Even their seemingly random movements followed logical paths between workstations. More importantly, she began cataloging their physical weaknesses. Those impressive exoskeletons that made them look so intimidating had joints that needed to flex for movement. The compound eyes that gave them excellent peripheral vision were adapted for their homeworld's lighting conditions, not the specific frequencies of Zerion 7's twin suns. Using micro-movements that wouldn't be visible even to someone watching her directly, Hana slowly accessed the field scanner attached to her belt. The device had been designed for geological surveys, but her military modifications allowed it to function as a tactical analysis tool. Data flowed directly into her enhanced neural interface, painting a detailed picture of the alien operation. Biosignatures revealed the Krathari's internal structure. Their nervous systems were distributed throughout their bodies, making them harder to disable with single strikes, but also creating multiple vulnerability points. Their exoskeletons were strongest at the center, but weakest at the joints where different plates connected. The scanner also picked up the electromagnetic signatures of their technology. The plasma cutters operated on a specific frequency that could potentially be disrupted. Their communication system used encrypted channels, but the encryption was designed to fool other Krathari, not human military-grade analysis software. Most interesting of all, their cloaking technology wasn't perfect. It worked by bending light around their ships and equipment, but it created detectable distortions in the electromagnetic spectrum. Her scanner could track their hidden assets even when they were invisible to the naked eye. A slow smile crossed Hana's lips as the tactical situation became clear. The Krathari had made several critical assumptions that were about to prove fatal. They assumed she was dead, which meant they weren't watching for her. They assumed their technology was superior, which meant they weren't protecting against human countermeasures. Most importantly, they assumed she was just another soft civilian scientist. They had never encountered an enhanced human operative with specialized xenobiological training and military-grade equipment. Hana's enhanced metabolism had processed the alien toxin so efficiently that she actually felt stronger than before the attack. Her reflexes were sharper, her thinking clearer, her enhanced senses operating at peak efficiency. The Krathari venom had been designed to shut down nervous systems, but her synthetic neural pathways had adapted to use it as a performance enhancer instead. She began formulating her plan with the cold precision of a seasoned predator. Take out. The sentries first to eliminate early warning systems, disable their communication array to prevent calls for reinforcement, use their own mining equipment against them to create chaos and confusion. Pick them off systematically while they struggled to understand what was happening. The crystal formations would provide perfect cover for someone who knew how to move without being detected. Her environmental suit could mask her heat signature, and her enhanced reflexes would let her move between their sensory sweeps. The Krathari were used to hunting prey that panicked and ran. They had no experience dealing with a hunter who was better at their own game. Rising from her position required perfect control. Too fast and the movement might catch someone's attention. Too slow and she might be spotted during the transition. Hana used breathing techniques learned during her special forces training, moving in perfect synchronization with the industrial noise of the mining operation. Her body flowed upward like liquid shadow, each movement calculated to avoid detection. The enhanced muscle fibers in her legs provided silent strength as she shifted from prone to crouch to standing position. Not a single pebble moved out of place. Not a sound betrayed her resurrection. Once vertical, Hana melted into the crystal, formations with the fluid grace of a born predator. The towering structures provided perfect concealment, their strange energy signatures masking her presence from the Krathari scanners. She moved between them like smoke, invisible and deadly, closing the distance to her first target. The hunt was about to begin, and this time the Krathari were the prey. The first Krathari sentry never saw it coming. One moment he was scanning the perimeter through his compound eyes, mandibles clicking softly as he reported an all-clear to the command center. The next moment, something moved behind him faster than his nervous system could process. A precise strike to the nerve cluster at the base of his skull, and he simply collapsed, his body going limp before he could even raise an alarm. Hana dragged the unconscious guard behind a crystal formation, her enhanced strength making the 7-foot alien feel surprisingly light. She had studied their anatomy during her approach, identifying the exact pressure points that would disable without killing. Dead bodies would be discovered quickly, but an unconscious sentry might buy her precious minutes. The second guard noticed his partner's absence during the next radio check. "Zaktor, report your position," he buzzed into his communicator. When no response came, he moved to investigate, plasma rifle at the ready. He found only empty air where his partner should have been standing. The guard's compound eyes swept the area frantically, looking for any sign of what had happened. His thermal scanner showed nothing unusual. His motion detectors remained silent. It was as if his fellow warrior had simply evaporated. That's when he felt the presence behind him. The guard spun around, bringing his weapon to bear, but found himself staring at empty space. His enhanced hearing picked up the softest whisper of movement, like fabric brushing against crystal. He fired blindly into the shadows, plasma bolts searing the air where he thought he'd heard something. The muzzle flash ruined his night vision for several crucial seconds. When his sight cleared, a human female stood directly in front of him, close enough to touch. Her dark eyes held a cold intensity that made his chitinous shell crawl with primitive fear. "Looking for me?" Hana asked, softly. Before he could react, her enhanced reflexes put her inside his guard. A quick strike to his weapon arm sent the plasma rifle spinning away into the darkness. Another precise blow to his nerve cluster, and the second sentry joined his partner, in unconsciousness. The disappearance of both perimeter guards triggered the first wave of panic in the Krathari camp. Commander Vex's harsh buzz crackled through every communicator as he demanded status reports from his missing sentries. When no answers came, he dispatched 2 more warriors to investigate. Hana was already moving by then, ghosting between the crystal formations with predatory grace. Her enhanced vision had mapped every shadow, every hiding spot, every angle of approach. The mining operation's bright lights actually worked in her favor, creating stark areas of darkness that her enemies couldn't penetrate. She reached the main power generator just as the replacement guards discovered their unconscious comrades. Their panicked shouts echoed across the camp as Hana accessed the generator's control panel. Her military training included basic sabotage techniques, but her xenobiological expertise told her exactly how to make this hurt. The Krathari power systems operated on harmonic frequencies that kept their plasma cutters stable. Hana introduced a subtle variance into the harmonic pattern, not enough to shut down the system immediately, but enough to create dangerous resonance buildups in the cutting equipment. The first plasma cutter overloaded 3 minutes later. The explosion sent superheated fragments flying in all directions, collapsing a massive crystal formation onto a group of 6 workers. The aliens' terrified clicking filled the air as they scrambled to escape the shower of debris. More overloads followed, in rapid succession. Each explosion was perfectly timed to create maximum chaos while forcing the Krathari to move in predictable patterns. Hana had turned their own mining operation into a deadly trap, and they were helping her spring it by trying to save their equipment. Commander Vex's voice rose to a harsh shriek as he tried to coordinate his scattered forces. "Defensive positions! Something is hunting us." But his warriors couldn't defend against an enemy they couldn't see. Hana moved through their ranks like a surgical blade, striking at precisely calculated moments. Her enhanced reflexes let her move between their sensory sweeps, appearing just long enough to eliminate a target, before vanishing back into the shadows. The Krathari's compound eyes were adapted for detecting movement in multiple directions simultaneously, but they were calibrated for their homeworld-specific light spectrum. The strange energy emissions from Zerion 7's crystals created blind spots in their vision that Hana exploited mercilessly. Their communication chatter devolved from military precision to terrified babbling as their numbers dwindled. Warriors who had spent decades raiding across the galaxy found themselves hunted by something that moved faster than their nervous systems could track. The hunters had become the hunted, and they were discovering what it felt like to be prey. "She's everywhere," one warrior screamed into his communicator before Hana's precise strike sent him into unconsciousness. "The dead human is alive," another managed to report, before he too vanished into the crystal maze. By the time Zerion 7's twin suns began painting the horizon with pale light, the industrial mining complex had been transformed into a graveyard of twisted metal and collapsed. Crystal formations. Smoke rose from dozens of small fires where overloaded equipment had exploded. Only 5 Krathari remained, huddled together in the center of what had once been their profitable operation. They formed a defensive circle, weapons pointed outward, compound eyes darting frantically at every shadow. Commander Vex stood among them, his scarred carapace trembling with rage and something he hadn't felt in decades, genuine fear. Somewhere, in the crystal maze surrounding them, death waited with infinite patience. The morning sun cast long shadows through the crystal formations as Hana emerged from her hiding place like a wraith materializing from nightmares. The 5 surviving Krathari had formed a tight defensive circle in the center of their ruined camp. Plasma rifles pointed outward, compound eyes darting frantically at every flicker of movement. Commander Vex stood in the middle of the group, his scarred carapace gleaming with nervous sweat. The proud warrior who had dismissed human prey as weak and pathetic now found himself jumping at every sound, every shift in the light. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress among his species. "She has to show herself eventually," he buzzed to his remaining warriors. "Soft skins can't hide forever." That's when Hana stepped into view, walking calmly through the wreckage of their once impressive mining operation. She moved with unhurried confidence, her environmental suit pristine despite the night of combat. Most remarkably, she wasn't even breathing hard after systematically dismantling an entire Krathari raiding force. The aliens' weapons snapped toward her instantly, but something in her posture made them hesitate. This wasn't the panicked scientist they had poisoned yesterday. This was something else entirely, something that radiated deadly competence with every measured step. "Hello again," Hana said conversationally, as if greeting old friends rather than the aliens who had tried to murder her. "I wanted to thank you for that injection." Commander Vex's compound eyes focused on her with disbelief. "Impossible. You were dead. I watched the toxin kill you myself." Hana chuckled softly, the sound somehow more terrifying than any battle cry. "Your venom gave me the best sleep I've had in months. 18 hours of perfect rest. I feel amazing." "The toxin kills everything," Vex chittered, his voice rising to a harsh shriek. "Every species we've encountered, their nervous systems shut down in minutes." "You've never met an enhanced human before, have you?" Hana asked, tilting her head with mock sympathy. "See, your people have been picking on civilians and regular, military units, but me, I'm something special." She gestured to the devastation around them with casual pride. "Military-grade genetic modifications, specialized training, and about 15 years of experience dealing with hostile alien species. Your toxin didn't kill me. It just gave my enhanced metabolism something interesting to work with." The Krathari warriors shifted nervously, their weapons still trained on her, but their confidence clearly shaken. They had spent centuries believing their venom was the ultimate weapon, the great equalizer that made them apex predators among the stars. Now they were face to face with proof that their assumptions were fatally flawed. "What do you want?" Vex demanded, trying to maintain some semblance of authority despite his obvious fear. "Justice," Hana replied simply. Then she began walking toward their remaining equipment with purposeful intent. The first target was their primary communication array, a sophisticated piece of technology that had been calling for extraction ships throughout the night. Hana pulled a plasma charge from her belt and attached it to the base of the transmitter tower. The explosion sent the array crashing to the ground in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. "No!" Vex screamed, realizing what she was doing. "You're stranding us here." "That's the idea," Hana confirmed, moving to their backup communication system. Another explosion. Another critical system destroyed. The Krathari opened fire then, desperation overcoming their tactical sense. Plasma bolts seared the air around Hana, but her enhanced reflexes made her appear to dance between the deadly beams. She used the crystal formations as cover, popping out just long enough to plant charges on their remaining equipment before vanishing again. Their drilling platforms went next, massive explosions that sent flaming debris flying across the camp. The cargo containers full of stolen crystals were reduced to molten slag. Even their portable shelters were systematically demolished, leaving the aliens with nothing but the clothes on their backs. But the real masterpiece was what Hana did to their transport ships. The Krathari had 3 vessels hidden under cloaking fields nearby, but Hana's scanner had detected them hours ago. She approached the first ship with almost casual indifference, walking directly through the cloaking field, as if it wasn't there. The Krathari watched in horror as their invisible escape route suddenly became visible, its hull glowing red-hot from overloaded plasma charges. The second ship suffered the same fate, its engines detonating in a brilliant fireball that lit up the entire crystal field. The third vessel's reactor went critical, creating a mushroom cloud that could be seen from orbit. "Our extraction ships," one of the warriors wailed. "They'll never find us without the beacon," Hana nodded approvingly. "Now you're starting to understand your situation." She walked back to where the 5 aliens huddled together, their weapons forgotten in the face of complete defeat. Commander Vex stared at her with something approaching respect mixed with terror. "Here's what's going to happen," Hana said, shouldering her research pack, as if preparing to leave for a casual stroll. "You're going to activate your emergency distress beacon. Your people will eventually come looking for you, probably in a few weeks, when this mining operation fails to report in." She paused, fixing each alien with her cold stare. "When they find you, you're going to deliver a message to your hive. Humans aren't the easy prey you thought we were. We don't die as easily as other species. And most importantly, we remember everyone who tries to kill us." The Krathari emergency beacon began broadcasting its plaintive distress call as Hana walked away, the sound echoing across the crystal fields like a funeral dirge for their shattered pride. "The next time your people encounter humans," she called over her shoulder, "you might want to try talking first." The end.